Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief. I'm joined by my buddy.
It's me, Chris McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force, and of course now Talking Joe.
How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I am excited to cover these because we've got some good issues on this one, so I'm very excited to get involved. But in terms of what I've been up to,
yes, prepared to be disappointed in my reaction to these issues, but that's another story we'll come to in a minute.
I must admit I haven't really done much in the last week other than work. I've just been doing a lot of work. Some stuff I've got to still keep under the radar, got to keep it G14 classified, but I've literally just been editing and working really, really hard, which is, it keeps you busy. Of course, Joe Fest is coming up very, very soon in like less than 2 weeks, and I've got an entire cosplay still left to complete that I'm going to be wearing. I'm going to be doing Night Force Lightfoot.
Okay.
And I know, and I've been basically building, and I'll send you, I'll tweet pictures of my current progress for the episode.
Okay.
Of the robot drone that Lightfoot has, his backpack, his chest, like his helmet, everything.
Yeah.
Like it's taking forever, so running out of time.
I am in a bit of a bubble when it comes to G.I. Joe in that I am obviously a fan. I don't pretend to know as much as a lot of fans out there, but I'm in kind of a bubble in that my consumption is mainly just the comics, so I don't even know what Joe Fest is. So enlighten an ignorant chump like me.
No worries. Joe Fest and also Augusta Toy and Comic Show, which is kind of like a combined thing that they do, is in Augusta, Georgia. And will be on the 21st to the 22nd of June, so it's coming up very, very quickly. I'm going to be there as a guest for the Full Force and Hoarder.com, which is an app that I'm kind of developing as kind of a collector's social network. So I'll be doing that kind of stuff. I'll be doing that. Cool. I'll be working there, which is fun, but it's not really work. And get to see some amazing people. Sergeant Slaughter's going to be there. Comic artist Adam Riches. Loads. In fact, Larry Hammer's going to be there. There's going to be so many like 3D Joes, and there's going to be so many G.I. Joe community and kind of famous G.I. Joe kind of peeps there. It's Keone Young, the voice of Storm Shadow from the cartoon. So they're getting a lot of people involved in this one. So it's going to be a big show.
Sounds good. I only ever have tried to cosplay once, and it wasn't even a cosplay. It was when I was at uni. There was a night at the Student Union called Fetish Night. Where, yes, you obviously dress up in sort of crazy outlandish stuff.
And you went as the Baroness. Got it.
I tried going as Optimus Prime. Now, I'm not sure. People have got robot fetishes, surely. So the issue came when I'd kind of made this cardboard head.
Amazing.
Which looked okay. And then it came to the body, and I had this box, and it was one of those really thick television boxes,
Amazing.
And this was an old school, like, CRT box. So it was like, not a thin one. It was a proper square one.
Yeah.
And I'd cut out a head hole and 2 arm holes, got it on, couldn't get it off. Got it on to try it on for size, and I'm stuck there in the house. Everyone else is out, and I'm like, literally, I cannot get this off.
Brilliant.
And I couldn't get my arms, even picking up scissors, couldn't get them close enough to the arm holes to cut myself out. So I ended up walking down the road with a box on just to try and find my mate at uni who could help me out.
Autobots, transform and roll out!
That's hilarious. I kind of wish there was like video footage somewhere. It's like closed circuit television of you walking down the street like that.
That's actually, I say I didn't go again. I did go 2 other times to Fetish Night. One was a zombie cowboy called Pancho Sanchez Ramirez Rodriguez.
Sexy.
And one was, I went as Rod Holt and Emus.
Amazing.
Will be lost on American listeners, but
you're just
Google Rod Hole and Emu, and I made a fake bird, and I'll see if I can dig out some pictures. It's not pretty viewing, but
I am him.
There you go.
That's another even more deep cut. If you know anything about British culture, that's hilarious. I hope there are pictures of your Optimus Prime cosplay.
I don't believe there was any pictures because I didn't do it in the end. It was
still, you in a box, anything.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I've been up to this week, the weekend I went down to my friend Sam's. We played Scythe, which is this board game I think I was talking about. I said I'd post pictures of the miniatures that I'd painted. I don't even know if I did say that, but I'm saying it now. I think I said I'd post pictures and I didn't, so I will put those up so people can see I'm not the greatest miniature painter in the world, but I think I'm okay, so let the people judge that.
Oh, we'll judge. We will judge.
We had 3 games. It's an 8 episode campaign. I threw away victory in the first with a silly move. I won the second, and then I was losing the third badly and sulked for the rest of the game.
Oh, good.
Which, if you know me, is par for the course. Apart from that, just working. I had to race home to do this pod, and on the way, the missus said, "Oh, I really need some chips."
Oh.
So, and when I say chips, I mean like not what
crisps.
Americans would call, yeah.
No, you meant actual thick
I meant
fries.
Fish and chips.
Yeah.
So I picked up some of them on the way home, which is very nice.
It's funny, isn't it? How like both America and the UK, we both know fries and chips and fries. We've known it for years. Like we know the cultural difference. But my goodness, doesn't it still keep rearing its ugly head while I'm here? Like it's ridiculous. It's like we both know what we're talking about. So why do we have to point it out? It's so hilarious that is it's one of those things that you just think. We even call fries now, but they're like a lot thinner and they're a lot more fry-like. And our chips are a lot thicker cut. But then people are like, "Oh, do you mean like steak fries?" And like, you know what I mean. You know what they look like. Stop this facade. Anyway. Yes.
I'm quite fortunate in that I've got a couple of fish and chip shops near me, both within 5-minute walking distance, that are both very good. So
nice.
I go to one. If there's a big queue, I can just nip to the other. To top it off, I split them with her. I literally just devoured them 5 minutes ago. And then to top it off, I bought myself a Muller corner.
Nice.
But it was reduced from 50p to 29p because I tend to like going around the Tesco or the Sainsbury's at around 7 8 p.m.
Nice.
When the woman goes round with the yellow sticker.
Bargains.
Reducing everything, getting bargains, yeah.
And, only 3 years out of date.
Yeah, this one was reduced from 50p to 29p, and it's a flavour I've not seen before. It's a raspberry yoghurt with pieces of white chocolate coated shortcake, meringue-style pieces, and mini biscuits.
Wow, that sounds
very tasty.
Really nice, yeah.
So I'm fueled up, ready to go for this episode.
I've had lunch, because we're obviously in different parts of the globe. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm not sure how well the sugar is going to be able to combat the mental fatigue we have when we go
inside Chief's mind.
Gets me every time.
So I don't want to bring down the tone of the show or make it crude in any way.
Impossible.
But I have experienced lately at work going into a cubicle, a bathroom, a restroom if you will, and finding that the dirty before me has done his business in the toilet bowl and not cleaned the bowl. He's flushed, but next to the toilet bowl there is a toilet brush.
I know, give it a scrub. Bloody hell.
If you've maybe done a sticky one and it's stuck to the pan a little bit, get the brush out and get it down there. But twice this week I've experienced it so far. I say him because it is the toilet bathroom area is one communal area, but then there's like 10 doors. Each one either has a picture of a male or female on it, so it's the same area, but each one is individualised.
So you can still poop next to a woman if you want to.
You can poop next to a woman if it's your thing, but
that's really cool. Just make it a trough, and you all sit in the same trough next to each other, just chatting while you drop in your deuces in a little gutter. That would work.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, the problem is there's so few toilets for so many people. It's not like you can just. I'm going to leave and go to the next one, because chances are they're all full most of the time. So you got to get what's given. If it's one free, you got to take it. Otherwise, you might be, having to your pants or something if you have to wait too long.
Skills.
But twice this week, and one I proper needed a hazmat suit because that guy was a stinker.
Airtight.
Oh yeah, the airtight would have been the man for that job.
Hostile environment, yeah. And then maybe take charbroil in just to make sure everything was destroyed afterwards. Yeah.
Jeez,
amazing.
That's what's been getting on my goat, grinding my gears this week. People who don't clean up after themselves.
I can't stand that. Like, I seriously, I have to. I'm a bit of a neat freak, OCD when it comes to tidiness. Everything like there'll be times when it gets out of hand, but then when I'm finished the project I'm working on, it's like, it is pristine, because I just can't operate with like clutter and crap everywhere, especially in this case, actual human feces.
You'd get on well with my missus, because she's I think it's a bit OCD. She is a neat and I'm not saying you've got OCD, you probably do though.
I have.
But she's a neat and tidy person, and she doesn't like stuff, and I have a lot of stuff, or what she calls crap, basically.
Yeah.
I'm just a collector.
Don't forget, I am as well. I'm also.
Yeah.
How can I be both?
No, but she considers a TV stuff that's unneeded. Like literally, she wants to live with just 4 bare walls, a chair, and that's it.
She's a minimalist. She's a minimalist.
She is a minimalist. Yes. Anyway, one other quick rec that I want to catch up with before we go into talk about some comics is someone told me, and I forget who it was, to check out a show called Barry. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's on, what do I watch it on? I watch it on Now TV.
Okay.
Because it's on Sky Atlantic originally. I've just watched episode 2 of season 1. It's like 25 to 29 minutes, which is right in my wheelhouse. I don't like long TV shows. I don't really watch series as a whole. But it's kind of a dark comedy with Bill Hader, who plays a hitman who wants to get out of the profession and get into acting.
That sounds amazing.
And it's definitely worth checking out. It's not
I love
nothing.
Him. I love
it
him
would
so
not
much.
Would not have been on my radar to check out. I don't generally look for new TV shows, but I'm going to go and watch a couple of episodes after we finish recording here. It's worth checking out. Barry, go and have a look.
Awesome. I will definitely check that out, because I love Bill Hader. I think he's hilarious. Yeah, cool. So we're getting into these comics. Oh, actually, one more thing I'd like to throw into the housekeeping arena. I found out recently that, how I thought Rumbler was a mistake, and they kept calling him Rumbler when it's Armadillo in the in that last issue we reread. It turns out in all of his appearances in the comics, he's called Rumbler because that was a working title for the figure. So Rumbler was one of the working titles. There were a few others as well that he was going to be. They wanted to kind of, they were throwing around as options for his name, and it must have been before they decided fully on him being Armadillo, or it might even have been the case where they had decided on Armadillo, but the information they gave Larry and the obviously the artist and writers in the team at Marvel was obviously, that working title of Rumbler. So he is Rumbler throughout the comics, and he's only in like 6 issues, I think.
Because that makes sense, because when I was reading issue 81, he's on a hillside, and there he is, and they call him Rumbler.
Yet again.
So, as you say.
Cool. So let's get stuck in.
It's about that time that we need to talk about some Joe comics. Let's get stuck in. Issue 81. This issue is called Plots and Tracts. And cover, you've got, is that Dodger? No, who's that?
Yes, Dodger in the Marauder motorcycle tank.
And Thrasher
on the Ferret ATV.
Yep, and it tells you on the front cover, Battleforce 2000 versus Dreadnoks! Exclamation mark. This one is obviously scripted by Larry Hama. We've got Marshall Rogers on pencils, Randy Emblin on inks, Bob Shireen on colours, and Rick Parker on letters.
Something I must mention on the cover.
Yep.
This kind of happens in the comic, but we don't see it directly. But obviously the Dreadnoks and Battleforce 2000 do come together on vehicles, but I'm not sure if this particular scene, because it could have been out of shot, because they do come away from that battle at one point. So I'm not going to moan and say this isn't in the comic, because it probably is. It just isn't seen. Next.
No, that's true. That's true. This is kind of not a throwaway story, but not kind of. I mean, there's two. It's kind of a follow-up to issue 79, which was the one where, in a small way, the one where again the Joe's tangled with the Dreadnoks and Buzzer hacked up Junkyard, and Mutt's still a bit hacked off himself. So he kind of joins forces with Battleforce 2000, and they have another bit of a shakedown with the Dreadnoks. Sorry, but the main sort of progressing plot point is the bit where a load of Cobra families come in on a ship, and we see Brocker Beach for the first time.
There's a really interesting bit on this where we see a bunch of kind of Cobra troopers all in their, like, they're wearing their gear but not all of their gear, and you've got Hydro Vipers, Eels, and then a Secto Viper without his gear on, and it kind of it took me a while to kind of say, is that a Secto Viper, because it's got the colour schemes there, obviously.
Is he the driver in the bug?
Yes, Cobra Bug driver,
okay.
yeah. And it was the Hydro Vipers I was looking at, and I was kind of thinking they're definitely Hydro Vipers, but obviously someone's having a little bit of kind of playing a bit of liberties with the color scheme, because obviously they're on the actual figure they're slightly different color. In fact, the arm color that they have should match their headgear. But I mean, that's just
that's the purple. Is that? Am I looking at the right shot? There's a guy with binoculars.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that they were just a figure. They weren't with a vehicle, because
no, Hydro Vipers are on their own.
I'm not familiar with them. Okay, cool.
They're amazing.
Cool.
The Hydro Viper is one of the best action figures ever. In actual fact, if they come up again in any of these we do, I'll definitely do a Talking Toys on them, because they're one of my favourite ever Cobra action figures.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to get my 3D Joe's manual and check them out.
Yeah.
With just, I just want to stick with this while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
With this bit where this big cruise liner is coming in, I felt like this was, unless I've just completely forgotten about it already, but where did these families come from? Springfield, but that was back in issue 50 when they evacuated. Is that right? Am I got timelines wrong? They've been 3 years sailing around the seas. Well, no, I'm not saying everything happens in real time, but how long do you propose? Because it's not like Larry
they probably haven't
dates.
I don't think they've been sailing. They've probably been being moved to place, if you know what I mean. And now that they've got Broca Beach sorted, it seems to me like they're just transporting them for the final time to Broca Beach. So I'd imagine that the evacuation took place. They went somewhere else to kind of keep away from the authorities, and then this is them finally getting to Broca Beach.
And this is just a Jersey Shore town that Cobra has effectively bought up and is now repopulating with Cobras.
Yeah, so random, isn't it? But yeah, I do like some of the random things Larry does in his writing.
Yeah.
But I suppose we should also mention, obviously we're introduced not in a sense to the Battleforce 2000, and what we're getting here is obviously a real direct look at the characters and the vehicles that they are portrayed in on the vehicle card art, on the box art.
Okay.
So we get Dodger with the Marauder motorcycle tank. He doesn't come with that vehicle because he's obviously a single carded, and he came in a 2-pack as well with like they did all the Battleforce 2000 or the first 6 in 2-pack figures. They also did them single carded. And the vehicles came just as vehicles boxed without a figure. But Dodger is associated with the motorcycle tank, the Marauder. Knockdown is in the Sky Sweeper, and obviously, again, that marries up with the card art. Avalanche is in the Dominator, which is the snow tank, which makes a lot of sense again. And Blocker is in the Eliminator. So you have all the vehicles and all of the Battle Action Force 2000 to that point, because the next year we do get DJ and the Pulverizer for Battleforce 2000, and so I mean they could have been married up if they'd have been available at that time. And a little side story, a little kind of side note here. When I was a kid, I went to the States on holiday, and I've mentioned this many times, probably on every episode we've ever had. But I went to the States with my mum and dad, and we went out to the toy store. I think I've mentioned it to you actually on this show as well. And it was just like a sea of figures this is 89. So I had, in my viewpoint, I saw DJ on card with a different digital background colour, the Battleforce 2000 logo, and I was thinking, oh, this is cool. And I picked that up and I thought, that's really neat, like a different subgroup and different kind of design on the card. This is pretty neat. Obviously Battleforce 2000 I couldn't see anything else of. There was none of the other previous figures on shelves, even though they'd been out the year prior. They'd either been sold through or they'd shifted them or whatever. So I saw DJ and I was like, yeah, I'll grab DJ. And when I got home, I think that year, or maybe like 89, got the Battleforce 2000 standard figures come through. So I bought all them, and they didn't have the same card art, like the same like Battleforce 2000 logo. They just came on a standard Joe card. So then I had all these figures, and then I realised, holy shit, this DJ goes with these guys. Like he's one of this like sub team. So like for me, it was this weird kind of disconnect where I found DJ first, and then started marrying it up with the Battleforce 2000. Anyway, side note, took far too long. Let's continue with the issue.
We've actually seen some of these guys before. There was a little storyline where they're in Frusian Land.
Oh yes, of course.
And I think Battleforce 2000 are there without their vehicles.
Yeah.
I think only Maverick in the Vector had a vehicle, but
of course,
yeah,
because obviously we've seen Maverick previously, haven't we? Who isn't mentioned obviously in this one because of his previous special mission that we read last week.
Yes, correct. I mean, when we're introduced more fully to these guys at the beginning of this episode, I'm just not a fan of them.
You don't like them?
No, because I wasn't collecting the toys at this time.
You're not on your own. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that don't like them.
Just not my bag. I don't know. Just look at who's that dude with that stupid helmet. Is that Knockdown?
Knockdown's got the. Well, I would also attribute that to some of the art in the book as well. Like, as some of it's really nice, and there's some, again, it's like a bit hit and miss for me. And then when they do some of the close-up of Knockdown is rubbish, but then there's another panel of Knockdown and it actually looks pretty cool when they're kind of just talking to Mutt on the vehicles as they're leaving the Aberdeen training grounds in Maryland, I think it is.
Yep.
But yeah, I totally agree. There was it was an interesting design choice, definitely, but a lot of people don't like it for that kind of departure from the standard military aesthetic, you know?
Yeah. Lots of name checking in the beginning, which is fairly standard of you know the roll call. Yeah. Even the roll call for the vehicles gets done, which I quite like. I quite chuckle at that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and I quite like. There's a nice little callback. I'll see if I can grab all the images. There was about 3, I think, in the early issues of Cobra Commander in like a shooting gallery.
Yes,
you cut forward here to Buzzer. And he's in his own shooting gallery, knocking off the Joes. He's actually sawed Hawk in half, I think, with a machine gun somehow.
Yeah, totally. And again, it's quirky. Definitely, it's quirky.
Yeah,
but,
and even the Welcome to Brocker Beach sign on that page, Brocker Beach is kind of written in spray paint, which is running down the sign.
Yeah, it looks like the Dreadnoks have made that sign.
Like the there is some nice touches here. It's, I guess, a toy tie-in issue, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. There's a few things I have issues with on this one, and there's some really, like, I don't know, not lazy, but kind of things I just wouldn't expect to happen. Like, Mutt is a bit of a D-bag in it. I know he's kind of like upset because Junkyard was injured by Buzzer, but there's a moment where he kind of, as they're talking to the cops at the checkpoint, after the checkpoint they've just been saying, or the toll booth, sorry, they've just been saying that the Dreadnoks have kind of gone through there and trashed the place, and they're really, annoyed, and obviously will let you through. He slams on the foot of Blocker.
But is Blocker the guy who looks like a Dusty knockoff?
Yeah.
He's got that bit over the back of his head. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's with Blocker. He basically slams on Block, who's in the Eliminator. They're both in the Eliminator. And he slams on the on his foot to kind of like barge through the checkpoint and break the toll booth things and everything. And I'm like, why would you do that? They're already like letting you through. They're not stopping you from getting through. So it just I don't know. And then they start firing on them, even though they know that they're the Joes and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So I just found the whole thing really confusing, that element. So now, obviously, it's a way for them to get the cops on their back and the Dreadnoks in front of them, but still, it just felt a little bit, I don't know, like pointless.
I think Blocker's my favourite of the Battleforce 2000. He's actually got my favourite line in the whole issue, where he says, according to my infrared detector, that flying Dreadnought is heading for the coast at ultra high speeds. Not just high speeds, ultra high speed.
In an air skiff.
I need to know what ultra high is. How does that... What's
I
the
don't know how
metrics
that
for
air skiff flies, because I mean, it looks. If you're going ultra high speed in that, then you won't have any skin left, surely.
Yeah, we get another callback as well here. I've just spotted Buzzer when there was 2 panels in issue 79 of reflections. I think it was Order's mouth, wasn't it, reflecting in his glasses, and then Order jumping at him. And here we get a reflection of one of the Joe vehicles in his glasses.
Yeah. And again, like there's a. I mean, Dreadnoks. It's the same as it was last time. You've got Zorana. Obviously, she starts on the ferret with Thrasher, and then she jumps onto Zanzibar's air skiff when the Joes are on their tail. Basically, to get to the refugees, I suppose, from Springfield, and all of the getting them sorted out on Brocker Beach. So it's obviously she switches vehicles in that point. Obviously, you've got Zanzibar on the air skiff. Buzzer and Torch on those kind of regular motorcycles. I'm going to call the ground assault motorcycles, and Ripper and Monkey Wrench are on the Dreadnought cycle. So that's pretty much the whole team, and they have this big like vehicle battle, which I do like that one. Like you say, when Buzzer's got his glasses, the reflection. I do like that double page spread where they've got like the kind of symmetrical panel layouts, and you have to follow the arrows to kind of like see where to go next. I really like that from an art perspective and an action perspective. I think it looks really, really cool. But yeah, it is a bit of a throwaway issue. There's not like a lot to it, and then obviously it ends in a, you know, Zorana manages to get everyone from the Cobra side kind of stored away in Broca Beach. They just about squeeze a maggot into that building, don't they, before everyone kind of comes rushing through, and then Battleforce 2000 is stopped by the cops, and they all get arrested. Now, that's kind of basically where we finish on that, right?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those ones where it kind of ends abruptly, and it's all a bit sort of look what happened kind of scenario.
Yeah.
The art, like you say, there's some nice bits, but it's a bit up and down. And on the whole, for me, I'm probably going to yo-jo this a 6.
I'd actually go lower than that, because I don't think I agree with you. I'm not a Battleforce 2000 hater in actual fact. I like the concept, and I always like the figures, and I thought it was like a cool. I just like sub teams. I think that's where my OCD and like order comes from, because it's like I want to kind of group these characters into like different groups and teams and specialties. So, you know, like I like my medics all together, and I like my, you know, Tiger Force all together, and that's just me. So Battleforce ticks those boxes for me. However, this issue is really like, you know, I love the Drodnecks. I love the Drodnecks. But I feel like they're used in the oddest ways in the comics sometimes. I think they'd be much better utilised in urban situations where they're just being, you know, riotous, aggressive D-bags. But they're always used in like really like high-end Cobra missions and like, you know, war, like the Civil War. Why would you have the Dreadnoks anywhere near the Cobra Civil War, like at all? It just doesn't make sense. Yes, have Zartan, Zorana, and Xandar, because they can like lead groups of Vipers and so on and so forth. But Dreadnoks, no, they're just not. For me, they're always utilised in the wrong way. But they're still interesting, and they still have a place. I think the Action Force comics utilise the Dreadnoks in a much better way than the G.I. Joe ones did. Controversial opinion.
Good shout. No, good shout. What? So you're going 5 for this then?
I'm going 4 on this one.
4. Okay.
And that's just so I've got some wiggle room for other issues as well, as I've kind of as I take stock of the entire run. I think this is quite low in my real kind of enjoyment factor. Yeah, so 4.
Right, so moving on to issue 82.
Yeah, now this is much better, I think.
This is called Weeding Out, and you've got on the cover, you've got Repeater laying down with some suppressing fire, and there's a Viper sneaking up behind him about to stab him in the back. That cover a lot.
I love it, yeah, really nice.
Interiors, Larry Harmer. You've got pencils. There's a mix of Marshall Rogers does the first 6 pages, and then Don Hudson does the rest. Randy Emberlin's on inks, Bob Shireen's on colours, and Rick Parker is on letters. And this is your kind of Full Metal Jacket-ish training camp, weeding out the weak recruits to get some new G.I. Joe members, and then unbeknownst to them, they come under a real attack. It's not a simulation, and they kind of have to fend off who they think at the time are Vipers.
What I really liked about the whole training mission part of it, you know, the whole, like, you know, they're in like basic training for the Joes, is they all wear T-shirts with their names kind of on them, their code names. And for one, I just love the fact that the G.I. Joe budget covers like some really awesome custom uniforms and like merchandise. Like straight away, I just love the fact they can get their shirts printed so easily. They've probably just got them spray painted on like white, you know, shirts or whatever.
There's some guys here. You got Blister,
Funky.
You got Bad News, Funky,
No Show,
Desperado. I'm seeing.
Yeah, Jody is another one.
Is it? Oh man, Ice Pick.
Yeah, Ice Pick was one, wasn't he? Yeah.
Oh, he's not an actual Joe, though, is he?
No.
So we just got Lightfoot, Budo, and
Repeater.
Yes.
Yeah. So these, again, these are 3 figures that came out at the same time, and they're just being introduced into the Joes. What's interesting is this basically talks about how they're going through basic training. We've already seen Lightfoot in a special missions issue, which we'll come to later.
Yes, because they mention in here, they say you've already you've already done this training before, and he says something like, oh yeah, I got put onto a mission, I got injured, so you've got to come back and do it all over again. And I was thinking, okay, is that just a reference to something that has happened or not? And then, of course, when we read the special missions later, it was like, oh yes, that's where I remember him from.
That's really cool. And again, Lightfoot was a big favourite of mine. I loved how insane his design was.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing Night Force Lightfoot, of course, for that cosplay. But and again, the training's is it me, or is this the most brutal Duke has ever been? Ever.
Yes, he's putting them through their paces. He's like, right, start push-ups. I'm going in for some food. You better still be doing them when I come out. And when he comes out, they're on 250 push-ups.
Crazy.
And then they're having to run and fight. I mean, again, I'm not a massive fan of this issue. Shh.
This is a direct quote of his. Weak, spoiled, sissy, unmotivated, underachieving, whining, crybaby, ex-G.I. Joe trainee washout. Zap, remove this worthless loser from our roster and cut him some orders to the nastiest place you can think of, Thule, Greenland, or Fez, Morocco. I'm like, bloody hell, Duke. Where did that come
Chill
from?
out a bit.
So, I mean, you're not a fan of this one.
No, I don't really like any of these characters. I don't particularly like the art from Hudson. I don't know. Again, I didn't have any of these figures, so I've got no reference point for the action figures, and just these guys popping up in the comic just seemed, it seems strange saying silly because the whole book from issue 1 has been silly.
Yeah.
But just seeing a guy with a samurai sword and a samurai helmet was just like, no, get him out of my book. What
it does scream to me is a little bit of a kind of crowbar into into a story. How do we get Budo, who's a samurai, Lightfoot, who's an explosive ordnance disposal expert, and Repeater, who's basically this Steadicam gun operator? How do we get them to in the same issue all together at the same time? And I mean that it is a difficult premise to actually try and work out how those three work together. But at the same time, I agree with you. I think it does strike as a little bit kind of pointless, haphazard, odd, and one of the craziest, most ridiculous things in the whole issue, which I enjoyed reading. This is definitely not I don't think it's crap. I just think there's a lot of suspension of disbelief things, like when Lightfoot pulls the guy's uniform or rips his front of his uniform off of a Viper uniform, and he's wearing an Iron Grenadiers uniform underneath. Why on earth would, even if you, what's the point of that? There's no point. I mean, they would just be bulkier, hotter, more uncomfortable. Why don't you just wear the Viper uniform? It just makes no sense that you would have that underneath your costume, just to give the game away as to what they were.
I mean, I guess a better way to do it would maybe there could be some Iron Grenadier uniforms in the back of the truck or whatever.
Yeah,
and he stumbles across them, rather than them wearing, like you say, underneath.
Or a patch or something is shown, or something that isn't as obvious as that.
Yeah. For those who aren't reading along, by the way, this actually happens. They get woken up and they think they've passed. Well, they have passed because the last three left. They've been given a hot meal and sleep till noon. Wow. And then they get woken in the middle of the night. It's an attack. It's an actual attack, not a simulation. Cobras are trying to steal some stuff. I don't know what it is. Electronic parts, I think, is normally a standard thing that people want to steal in G.I. Joe
Joe's
comics.
Aircraft information, don't they?
And it's a load of Vipers. And as the Vipers escape, like you say, Lightfoot tears one of their uniforms. He's got strong hands and strong fingers because he tears that uniform. And underneath, the guy is wearing an Iron Grenadier uniform. So it was obviously a Destro plot.
They even say at the end it doesn't matter who it was.
Yeah, I reckon it does.
Yeah, but I
reckon it does. But
it's funny that they're like, it doesn't matter who it was, if it was Destro or Cobra, and it's like, then why have that happen? But I suppose we'll find out later on. I suppose I just love those particular figures. Repeater's amazing, an amazing figure, and his modern figure is just glorious. Lightfoot never got a modern version, but I've always been a massive fan of his figure because it's just so quirky and crazy and oddball. Yeah,
I don't actually mind the look of Lightfoot too much because it reminds me a little bit of Airtight, who I am a big fan of. I'm not actually Repeater. Just looks like a standard, muscle jock with
Ranger.
a big gun to me. Not for me. Yeah, but overall, this is the kind of the definition of a one and done, because there's no overarching plot points that carry over, I don't think. Well, I suppose that Destro thing, does that come back at all?
No, I can't remember off the top of my head, but
I
sure
can't.
we'll let's keep everyone spoiler free and find out ourselves.
Yeah. What you Yojo in this one?
I'm going to give this one a 6, and that's
Right.
based on the fact that I did enjoy it, and I do enjoy these types of stories, but obviously there's a lot of things about it that do make it very, I don't know, like a bit hokey.
Yeah. I think I'm also going to give it a 6, because even though I'm saying I didn't really like it, it's a G.I. Joe comic, which means there's always going to be some form of love from me towards it. And when I look at my every Joe story ever, which we will update in the coming week, my rankings, I've ranked 51 G.I. Joe stories on this list, and I only have 4 of them are below a 6.
Right.
So for me to give this less than a 6, I'm saying it's one of the worst 4 stories of all time.
Yeah.
So far, from what I've read. And I don't think it is.
I'm just giving myself a bigger range, I think, to work in, you know.
Sensible.
Oh, and something else I got to mention.
Go on.
We don't see Lightfoot's robot. Like, the whole point of him is to have that little cute robot drone thing on treads, and you never see that.
Again, I have no idea what you're talking about, but fortunately, you're going to explain it to me later in the show.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Next.
Next, looking at Special Missions number 13. It's called Washout. On the cover, you have Dusty, and in the background, you've got a couple of... I can see Outback between his legs, and the other
Sexy.
two, at first glance, you could be easy enough to say, I don't know who those two are.
Lightfoot's like trouser stripes and that.
Yeah, is that
arm piece.
easily recognisable as Lightfoot, would you say?
For me, it is, yeah. But
Okay, for you
I
it
don't.
is.
You think a layman, and obviously at the time, you'd probably be looking at like, who the are they?
Yeah, because I guess these are first-time introductions for both these two characters in the background.
Yes.
Well, no, I suppose the figure was out, but again, if you weren't buying the toys, I don't know. That'd be a good kind of thing to try and take stock of. How many people at this time were either just buying the figures, just reading the comic, or doing both?
I think a lot of the US viewers were probably doing both, and for us, it was a case of getting Action Force comics, unless you had some sort of G.I. Joe source to actually get the American comics as a kid, you know.
But still getting the toys, I guess. As well.
Yeah. So I think kind of culturally there would be a big difference in how we consumed these products. So something we do have to mention that is quite clear on, and I'm sure you guys have probably discussed it as well, but one of the main artists on the original Real American Hero line, Ron Rudat, his name is hidden in Dusty's file name, isn't it? And Dusty, who is Ronald Tador,
Okay.
that is Rudat backwards. So obviously,
I was just going to say, on the front cover, it has Tadur, and I've
Yeah.
got no idea what that was a reference to, but there you go.
Yeah, that's his surname. So
And if he was going undercover, that's no good, because A, it's got his surname, and on the other side, just above his pocket, it says G.I. Joe.
an American flag. I mean, everything you need, he's got on him. Was it name, rank, serial number, blood type, and religion? I think
That actually comes into this issue, because one of them, it might even be Lightfoot, references G.I. Joe, and the bad guy goes, you're G.I. Joe, are you? And I was thinking, well, you can just look at Dusty's outfit, and it'll tell you that for a start. But this is, I quite like this issue. I think
it's a good one.
This is Special Missions ranked quite highly on my list anyway.
Yeah, this will be up there definitely. It's a good one.
Joes are in where are they? They're in a desert
Trucial
somewhere.
Abysmia.
Yes, which if you didn't know is on the east coast of North Africa.
Yeah, this is a big country in the G.I. Joe world now, made up country.
As we find out kind of midway through, what's happened is the president or leader of this little nation has some bad teeth. So the Joes have been able to get him some private dental care, and for that he's allowed them to have some bases dotted around the nation.
Yeah.
They've now been captured because there's some revolutionaries, as there always is, and they want to find the location of one specific base that hasn't been evacuated, or the special documents. I think it's, again, electronic parts possibly.
It is, yeah.
For aircraft maybe.
Classic.
or this base anyway, hasn't been evacuated, or all the documents haven't been removed. So these revolutionaries are trying to find it. They captured some Joes. What are the Joes actually doing there? Do we ever find that out or not? Or is that not really relevant?
Their mission is to blow up the cache.
Their mission, yes, is to blow up this final cache so the bad guys can't get hold of it, of course. And we're introduced to Lightfoot, who we've already seen, but this is where his first appearance in the comic and where he obtains his injury that he references in the Real American Hero issue. And we also see Mangala, who we never see again. And there's a reason for that.
We'll get to that. We're also introduced to two enemy characters as well, the Abysmal Army. I love that. So you've got the military commander of the unit, which is Captain Yusuf, and you've got Aman, who is like this just
political scumbag,
absolute douchebag. They capture Outback, Dusty, Mangler, and Lightfoot by sniping out the tyres, and that's Captain Yusuf's order. Even though Aman is like saying, to just kill them or whatever, or not kill them. Maybe he was going to do something else, and this guy was like, no, let's do this instead. And they have an argument. Anyway, the captain is right, as always in this.
Yep.
Then Aman goes on to frigging torture Lightfoot, and that's like, obviously against the Geneva Convention, and again, the captain has a problem with it, and Aman is like basically telling him this is national security and F off. So Lightfoot gives up all the information after a long period of torture, which, let's face it, everyone has a breaking point. That's what the point is in this, I think, that Larry was making as well. Mangler is determined to be against Lightfoot for giving up this information.
I think they say he was beaten on for 6 hours or something.
I know,
like
it was a long period of time that he's tortured for. And Dusty even tells Mangler to just cut it out, and even like knees him in the stomach to shut him up.
Oh, then they get the electrode. They get the electrodes out, don't they, and zap him with some. They don't go easy on him.
No, so he gives up the information and cannot walk at this stage because he's been beaten so hard. And then Aman tells the captain to dispose of them because obviously he doesn't want any witnesses to this. Lightfoot tries to plead with him to say, just kill me and let the others go, because he's very heroic. And I love Lightfoot.
Yeah.
And then the captain eventually can't do it and throws them a canteen and drives off and says, look, you can go this direction or this direction. One direction will take you to safety. The other direction will take you to the cache. So it's up to you, but here's your water canteen. You're probably going to die if you don't, get to safety. And then at that point, the Joes kick into gear and Lightfoot says, no, I'm willing to still blow this place up if you're willing to get me there. And so Mangler carries him the whole way, and the three of them hot-foot it across the desert in what must be hideous conditions at night, and then have to lay low for the day.
Yep. I mean, it's a story about teamwork and not giving up, and trust your brothers in arms, and don't judge a man till you've walked in his shoes kind of situation.
Totally.
I must mention here art by Herb Trimpe, who does pretty much all these special missions.
Brilliant.
Inks is Andy Mizinski, letters Phil Felix, and colours Nel Yomtov. And this art actually looks a little bit different from previous Herb Trimpe art, and Herb's kind of got that kind of straight line style.
Yes. Slightly
scratchy-ish, or kind of not static, but kind of deliberate style. And this is feels a bit more rounded, and I don't know, it's just feels different. And not different in a good or bad way, just kind of different to what I'm used to from him.
What I love, he always does like the kind of little, I suppose, like wobble lines for when people are kind of running or moving. I've always found that quite funny when that's utilised, because it really does show quite, it really does in your mind make you think that it's moving as you're reading it. So it's always been like a good technique that he employs loads.
I'm a big fan of Dusty. All his appearances are like Dusty, and here he's kind of scrounging up food for him. He gets some lizards at one point, then he gets something. What's that? I don't know what that is. Some moving bug or whatever.
I don't know. They're like desert rats or something, aren't they?
Mangler goes, "They're alive." Oh yeah, they are. Yeah. And Outback's like, "You're complaining about a hot meal? Just bite their little heads off and spit out the crunchy parts."
He is like awesome as well, Outback. I think Outback and Dusty make a pretty solid kind of team in these situations.
If you were stuck in the desert needing to get out, they're your two boys you'd call on.
Immediately, both of them. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And something else I really like about this is obviously they get to the cache, they sneak in, And that's where Lightfoot shows his kind of technical expertise in explosives.
Yeah,
And
I like that bit a lot.
that bit about the classified information, like they're not going to show you how to build a bomb, but Larry's definitely going to tell you how to do it.
Yes, yeah.
So funny.
That was
So
cool.
there's a big classified information sticker over 3 panels, but again, like it's great to see these specialists doing what they do best, and he certainly does a really good job of blowing that cachet up.
Yeah, and I thought that was, I really liked the script and the dialogue throughout. I thought the interaction between the characters, the Joe team themselves, and also them and the double-headed enemy, if you will. You know, the moralistic bad guy, which was is that Aman? No, that's Yusuf, isn't it?
Captain Yusuf, yeah.
Captain Yusuf, who might be on the opposition side, but he knows what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
He's honourable. And then the scumbag, Aman. And I like that dynamic as well. All works really well. The only bit that I was a bit kind of, the bit where they're getting away the Joes, but the bad guys are on them. So Mangler decides to jump off the back and kind of sacrifice himself. And I'm not against, his sacrifice so the others could get away. It's just, it's the line he delivers where
a 19-year-old American with a machine gun, that one.
Yeah. Well, he says, "What's that?" And the bad guy's going, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's your worst nightmare come to life." A 19-year-old American with a machine gun. I reckon there's more worse nightmares to have than that. But then he does a full-on shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
And basically causes these enemy vehicles to crash and the Joes get away.
It's very patriotic, that part, isn't it? And then obviously gets crushed under the vehicles and dies. And
yes,
and the whole thing's running through it is that this douchebag political guy, a man, he's basically saying that heads will roll over this, and Captain Yusuf says, "Correction, they will have your head over this."
Yeah.
I'm too stupid and incompetent to take any of the responsibility for this fiasco. Yeah. So he gets out of it, or so we assume, and the Joes are left discussing Mangler and how Outback was going to file a very bad, wash him out basically and say he wasn't going to. He
basically does I'm a big Judge Dredd fan. He's probably my favourite comic character of all time, and he kind of goes a bit Joe Dredd here because he's like, it's almost like they have this thing in Judge Dredd where they have the hot dog run, which is for rookie judges who wear the white helmets. Before they get their full badge, their full double eagle, they have to go out and do this hot dog run with a senior judge who basically assesses them over the how many days.
Yeah.
And most of the time that you're on a hot dog run with Dredd, he's going to fail every single one. He pick you up on the tiniest little things. And Outback's kind of going, yep, he was going to wash him out. I was going to not give him, but then file a negative report. But he says, what the hell? Let's give him a posthumous medal or whatever. Which is again, Dredd's kind of done that exact same thing. Shown a bit of a human side. So, for me, that was kind of a small sort of parallel to my other favourite comic. But, overall, really enjoyed this issue.
Big time. It's a beauty.
What's your Yojo Cola?
I'm going to give it a 9 because it's
Wowzers!
I know, because it's got characters I really enjoy. It's got a plot that kind of works. It's not too... it's not too much, it's not too little. It's kind of like just right in there. Like I really like the action, the characterization. Like you say, there's that one kind of corny line that is delivered by Mangler, but it's cool that he goes out as a hero to sacrifice after you've kind of hated him a little bit for being a douche earlier on. So like there's a lot of there's redemption, there's this victory in it still. And all of our kind of named Joes kind of get out with their lives. Yeah, so I'm going to give it a high one.
Okay, I'm just looking at what my highest special missions ranking so far is, and it's actually issue 1 of special missions, which I gave an 8, and then I also gave issue 8 an 8, and I gave the preview from Real American Hero 50, I gave an 8. So. Cool. I think I would rather read any of those ahead of this one.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I am not going to give it a good score. I think I'm going to give this one a low 8.
Nice.
So let's pop that.
I think it deserves it. I think it's and also for it to be a standalone issue, to get to the end and you're not kind of, you're satisfied with what happened as well. There's a good. I mean, it's got everything in it, and I think it's deserved of its high marks.
Cool. Yeah. Do it. Go for it. Right, we're moving on to issue 14, and this is an error. The Chief dropped the ball because issue 14 of Special Missions is actually part 1 of a two-parter. So what we should have done
we're just going to leave you in the lurch.
We should have advised listeners that we were going to do 14 and 15. So we're not going to actually cover 15 today because that would do a disservice to those people who haven't read it. So we'll do 14 today, then we'll pick up 15 at the start of next week, and then we'll yo-jo this two-parter as a whole.
Cool.
Although I have to say, I dropped the ball. You didn't pick up on it either.
I didn't, no. Mainly because I've got so much going on that I tend to just go, yep.
Forgiven.
No, you're right, though. I think what might be a good idea for us, and this is, I'll take this off, well, we can keep it in, but what I think might be a good idea going forward is just to make a quick plan of all the issues ahead. Just maybe up until, like, you know, a certain number, and then do the same again, just so we know that we're not missing any two-parters. But
Makes
even
sense.
So, it's nice to have a little kind of cliffhanger for people for the next issue, next episode.
Yep. So this one is called In From the Cold. You've got, as always, Larry Harmer scripting, Herb Trimpe pencils, Andy Maziski inks, Phil Felix letters, and Noel Yomtov is on colours. So same crew as last time. And this one, the cover, what are you saying about this?
Dynamic, impressive. What I've noticed about a lot of the covers on all the G.I. Joe comics is that they kind of skimp on the backgrounds a little bit sometimes, and they've done it again here. But at least you've got some sort of black and white cross hatching in the background, and then obviously the snow's really cool. But then obviously the charge, the cavalry charge with Snake Eyes with his sword above his head, and Scarlet with a bayonet rifle, and the rest of all the kind of like bandits around them. So yeah, I think it's a very dynamic, very impressive cover. Totally.
Scarlet doesn't actually get much page time though inside the interiors, does she?
No, and they're actually not wearing
Well,
those
Snake Eyes
particular...
doesn't really either.
No, but they're not actually wearing those clothes at that point in the story either. They should have their winter gear on for the cover, but I guess a lot of that is down to, we want it to be recognizable. We want kids to see, oh hey, look, Snake Eyes is in this one, oh Scarlet's in this one. So, you know, I suppose that's why they do it.
So very brief synopsis here. Joes are on a mission with the CIA agent Anderson, who was last seen back in possibly issue 8 of Special Missions.
Yep.
And he's a bit of a scumbag. I don't know why he's still on staff, if you will. But anyway, they've been sent in to this hidden area in China, Chomo, Lungma.
Do you want to hear some cool trivia about Chomo Lungma?
I do, yes.
So Chomo Lungma is actually what the people of Tibet call Mount Everest, and it's one word usually, Chomo Lungma. And it means goddess mother of mountains. And I'm guessing Larry thought that would be a cool, if you chop that word in half, to make it like a fake kind of place for the G.I. Joe team to go to. And obviously we named Everest after Sir George Everest, the surveyor who charted the majority of India. So there you go. There's your info burst.
Yeah. As always, my ignorance knew none of that. So thank you for that, sir. These guys why are they going there? They're going to try and capture or bring back a rogue CIA agent. And this is the bit I don't get. He went rogue like 20 years ago. So why are they sending him in now? Something
to do with the new relationship they have with China.
Oh, yes, you're right. You are right, yes.
Because of that relationship, it means that there's this issue that the Chinese are having with this particular individual. He's kind of like, I think they're like, what he's saying is that the people have been kind of ruled badly. They've been separated from families. The countries, or the area is in turmoil. And he couldn't leave the people behind on his last mission 20 years ago. So he stayed there, and he kind of cultivated this weird fake persona that scares the people. And then him and his bandits kind of do these little kind of runs into Chomo Lungma to disrupt the, I suppose they're the kind of main Federation army there, basically.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, and who's on board? Who we got here? We got Iceberg. We've got Chuckles.
Yep.
We got Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and I think that's it. And then Agent Anderson.
Yeah. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
That's going in. That's going to be an audio clip right there.
So I think the again, Trimpe, his art is looking a bit more sort of rounded, which I've got more to grips with now from the last issue. The bad guy here is I forget what his name is. He's
Colonel Peng.
There you go, Colonel Peng of the Chinese Protectorate, I think. And they don't know about this hidden valley or they know there's a hidden valley in the Himalayas, but they're not aware that there's a whole village, a population that's actually, living their lives out there.
Which is called the legendary Valley of Eternal Mist.
That's it. How could they not know that was there?
I love the fact that when they get through that last, they're on the plane and they get through that last kind of peak to actually come into the valley, there's a fat guy on a peak waving at them, naked as well. He's only wearing like a loincloth, I think they say. He turns out to be a monk.
I mean, this one, I don't mind this one. It feels a little bit too much like it's channeling a lot of kind of fantasy, kind of, this hidden valley, the eternal mist and all that. It just feels a little bit off kilter to me.
Yeah. Also, you've got a small Joe footprint on this one as well, like a smaller team that don't really get involved that directly. Like, I mean, Iceberg flies them in, obviously, but the whole thing is really about Anderson. It's really about Anderson, Esterhazy, and then the Chinese or the Protectorate. So there's not really. I mean, this could be a story. This could be a general story. You don't even have to have G.I. Joe involved in it. No. They're really caught in the middle, and they're having to get involved in a counter attack. They have to get involved in that. But for the most part, and Scarlet still thinks they're on a rescue mission or a mission to collect him and take him back. Yeah. And then Esterhazy kind of at the end says, "You don't think I don't know that the CIA agent here is going to be the gunman that kills me?" Yep. Like, he's fully aware that they want to take him out. And then that's when all the guns get turned on the Joes right in the last panel. Yeah, I mean, there's some nice action stuff here with the red smoke comes out and the guys with the mortars and the RPGs. Snake Eyes on the back of a horse is a pretty cool image. Yeah. So, it's kind of setting. As I was getting towards the end of the issue, I was thinking, I'm not sure this can all wrap up in 2 pages. Yeah. And then obviously it didn't. So that's where issue 15 comes in. Annoyingly, I actually knew this was a 2-parter. I just didn't realise it was issue 14. I have read all these before, but it's been a long time. I think, though, issue 18 and 19, aren't they also part of this or not? They do. There is a return to this, I'm pretty sure. I think you're right. I think there is a return to this. Maybe it's a standalone, though. 18... Oh, it's called Extraction, and I'm looking at Chuckles and Iceberg and Scarlet and Snake Eyes in a boat. So maybe this is almost their return journey from Chomo Lungma. But we'll read ahead and we'll let the listeners know. I think we're good to. I don't think the listeners mind, or do they? No, have they told you? I'm thinking Special Missions 15 is fine to end this as a 2-issue arc, so that's fine. We're not going to yo-jo this one because we'll wait for next week. But I think it's solid enough that I'm looking forward to the second part. Solid as a rock. There you go. That's why I don't do karaoke. Oh, that's going to have some effect on it, and it's also going to have the original song in the background. It's about that time, though, that Chris Talks Toys. Chris Talks Toys. Dun, dun, dun. I'm making up. I think I change it every single week. There's a different kind of style of intro for this. Yes, and this week I have been mostly wanting to talk about Lightfoot, who is one of the quirkier characters in the G.I. Joe universe and has definitely got his detractors because I think, again, it's a departure from your standard military stylings and maybe a little bit closer to Battleforce 2000 that some might, that a lot of people would really would want. And obviously his colour scheme is nuts as well. So the original figure that came out, the one that we've had on 2 of the issues this week, he ends up with this amazing helmet in blue with red eye kind of like pieces. That's removable for the figure as well. He's wearing an all yellow kind of top and bottoms. I don't think it's a onesie because it does look like he's wearing a belt with his pants as well. So, but they're the same yellow, the top and the bottom. He's got these, what I'm guessing has something to do with his explosive ordnance disposal training on his biceps. He's kind of like clips, black clips around his biceps. Really tall black gloves. This chest piece, black chest piece with 3 grenades on a green element of that chest piece at the top, which is very dangerous if you ask me. And then these on his pants, he's got these kind of black horizontal striping running all the way down, like partial striping running down the sides, and then these black boots with these crazy like elements to the boots as well, like the kind of little grenades or something. It's hilarious. So anyway, he comes with the most amazing gear as well. So not only does he have that amazing blue helmet, but he also has with 2 antennae sticking out the back as well, but with this amazing backpack too, which 2 of the elements of the backpack protrude over his shoulders. And on the back of the backpack, there is a like a holographic lithograph type sticker, which has components in red, holographic components in red, to make it look like, you know, you can kind of see inside the in the backpack. He also comes with this. It's a mine detector unit, but you know, it's kind of like his remote. I thought it was a remote for his robot. It actually turns out to be a mine detector unit, and it's kind of like this kind of handlebar setup with a big claw sticking on the front of it. So I'm guessing he just detects mines using it's just a fancy, you know, blimmin' metal detector. So
sorry to cut you off. I'm just going to ask you a question because I'm dying to know. Was he an upgrade or replacement figure, as we saw kind of like Lifeline kind of replacing Doc
totally, for Tripwire. Yeah, Tripwire.
Oh, of course, yes.
He was definitely an upgrade of Tripwire, just like Downtown was an upgrade of Short Fuse and Heavy Duty, and kind of like the new version of Roadblock and all that kind of stuff. I think they probably would have been designed, or actually I know that Lightfoot was actually designed by a guy called Tom Renck. He drew the original design drawings, which are amazing. I would share them, but I'm not sure if Tom wants them out there all the time, like in that sense.
That's cool.
But I mean, if he does, I mean, he has posted them on our page, on our Facebook page. So I'll just, you know, I'll direct everyone to that. But basically, he did the original kind of design drawings. They're amazing, of Lightfoot. He also did Hit and Run and a couple of others, I think Toxo Viper and some others. And when I say design, he was like the concept artist, not the actual design drawing or the It would have been like early concept, like the first pass concept stuff. And so Lightfoot was amazing. So as I was saying, the mine detector unit remote thing with 2 handle grips, that clips to the backpack as well, and it covers that lithograph. It also comes with a hose, it's called, but it's actually like the cable that goes from the top right hand shoulder of the backpack protrusion, and then goes to the mine detector unit in his hands. So it kind of links the 2 together, and then obviously you can put it on the backpack and the hose still stays on it. Then you've got the robot, which is just a marvel, in my opinion, of cool design. And this little guy is brilliant. It's on like a tank tread, trapezium-shaped tank tread. It's then got another lithograph hologram on the sticker on the front, but this is silver and black. So you can see the components. It's different to the sticker on the backpack, but again, it's showing you the components inside. And it's got this little antenna on top, and then loads of little quirky detailing all over it. And it's just really, really cool. The artwork on the card was just fantastic. Like, it's just, you know, even on the G.I. Joe card, it was gorgeous. And then we got him released on G.I. Joe the Action Force card, which again is just beautiful. And he's there kind of like, you know, he's pointing what I thought was the remote at the droid. And what I also noticed is on the actual artwork, the droid is facing the wrong way. So, on the art, it's facing the way I thought the back of the droid, if you know what I mean. I thought it was the other way around. I thought the components would be facing wherever it was going, but it appears on the card art that was not the case. Now, the other thing is there's a lot of little details on that card art as well that kind of are quite cool, that do stand out and look like it might not, you know, they might have designed it a slightly different way than it came out in the toy, but again, it's just so cool. Hardly any changes in terms of the card variations that we had in the UK. His name is Corey R. Owens, and he's from Wichita in Kansas. He's demolitions and artillery coordinator is his secondary. So, and it says, and I'll read out his card that we got in the UK. 50% of any military manual on explosives consists of mathematical tables for calculating amounts of explosives needed, safe firing distances, power requirements for firing circuits, and formulas for cutting structural steel, timber, and breaching various forms of bunker material. Lightfoot has memorized all of them, as well as all the conversion tables for foreign and non-military explosives. He's not taking any chances. And then the quote is, Lightfoot has elevated being careful to an art form. You might say he's a Zen fuss budget. His eyes sweep the ground before him in measured quadrants, alert for tripwires, signs of digging and out-of-place vegetation. He sniffs the air for that smell of dead rubber. Lightfoot may take twice as long to clear an area, but at least you won't get any nasty surprises. And I've always really dug his kind of card art. I thought it was really, really, really cool. And I think the US one is pretty much word for word exactly the same.
Cool. There you go. Lightfoot. So yeah, Lightfoot. And I did not know most of that stuff. So
cool.
He's probably gone up in my estimation. Thanks to you, sir.
Oh, no worries. Oh, I should also say he was brought out in the Night Force as well. That was his second version of the figure,
okay.
and they just basically made all of his equipment black, and his gear is a brown instead of yellow. All the black pieces and green pieces are still the same. So it's just basically just made him brown.
Good stuff. I shall look forward to your toy talking segment next week as you continue to educate me.
What could it be?
But around this time, we need to have a segment we call
Chief Bass Chris a question. Chief Bass Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief Bass Chris a question?
So, there was a brief bit of chat at the beginning about cosplay. In the UK,
yes,
to the conventions I've been to, mainly MCM in London and I guess MCMs at Brighton and Manchester and Birmingham, which I haven't been to. But they're the main ones where you get your cosplayers. I have never seen a G.I. Joe cosplay.
Really?
At any UK convention.
I've seen
your
loads.
your wife and yourself aside, what's the best G.I. Joe cosplay you've seen?
That's a bloody good question, and I have to say there's a few out there that just blew my mind. One of them is a Road Pig cosplay, which I forget the guy's name. I apologise if you are listening. He's with the Finest, which is a cosplay group in the United States. Well, global actually now. But the guy who does a Road Pig one, and it's just unreal. And like you said, apart from my wife, who I just think does some of the most ingenious cosplays, you know, her attention to detail, the quality that she kind of puts into everything is just unreal. I've only done one, and that's the Tiger Force Hit and Run, and it was really just because I love the character, and we were doing Assembly Required in Iowa, and that was a Tiger Force theme, and I just thought it would be funny to do. And Kate obviously has the Tiger Force Outback one, so it was like a funny one to do. But that Road Pig for me is that this guy does is just unreal. Again, apologies for not knowing your name. I'll try and rectify that, and I'll send you an image with and his name, so you can post that on the Twitter account.
Excellent.
After the fact. There's a couple of others actually. There's a Zartan that was done not long ago, which was amazing. And one of my other favourites was... Oh, there's too many. We'll just have to move on.
Okay, that's cool. Any other that come to mind, non-G.I. Joe cosplays that have... I tell you what, I always see at these ones, I always see some dude in like a Warhammer 40k.
Oh, they blow my mind. They blow my mind.
It's like 8 foot tall,
yeah.
Space Marine,
Blood Angel
arm. Oh my goodness!
I saw a Blood Angel at one show. I think it's on my Instagram years ago at MCM, and oh my goodness, he was walking through the main hall in the main hall in the XL, and it was just unreal, on stilts as well, like he's raised up, so he's having to lug that must be the heaviest gear to lug around. And it just had everything. It had sounds, it had lighting, it was just beautiful.
I'm looking, I think the next con for me to go to as a punter is going to be probably Thought Bubble in September in Leeds.
Cool.
I shall look out for some stuff there. But next week, listeners, come back and please do your homework. Read. Well, you don't have to. You know, if you want to read along, you can. But it's not mandatory. We're not checking up on you or anything. How do we check up on them, Chris? I'm not sure. Anyway, come back and read Special Missions number 15 for the closing part of this two-parter, and then read Real American Hero 83, 84, and 85. And that is the four we'll be covering next week. You can find us in all the usual places, talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics at Instagram, talkingjoecomics@gmail.com, and Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on Facebook. And we'll give some shout-outs next week. I wanted to give some shout-outs this week, but I've left my pad with the people I wanted to shout-out to downstairs, not in the loft. So I will give the shout-outs next week. And also, we're going to be doing an awards show next week, which might even be news to Chris. So we'll be covering, I think it's G.I. Joe issues possibly 54 to 81, something like that. I'll give him the numbers offline. It's basically a 2-year review of 1987 and 1988. We'll be giving you our favourites from the list of characters, single issues, artists and vehicles.
Cool.
So,
I look forward to that.
Chime in with what you think. Yeah, chime in with what you think should be up there for nominees for those categories. Where can the good people find you, sir?
They can find me at Diagnostic80 on most things, and of course the Fourth Force podcast on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, just, everywhere basically, and now Talking Joe.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, I'm going to get Mainframe on to hack everyone's account so we know if we can check up on them. That's the only way it's going to happen.
I like it. But with that done and said, have a good week, everyone, and we will catch you down the road.
Bye!